In the 50s and 60s, my neighbor, Mr. Hines, who's probably dead now, he was elderly when this happened, had a few articles that he showed us about glowing orbs moving outside Area 51. Of course, we asked, "What's really there?" His somber response was, "If I tell you, I'll have to kill you." My mother laughed nervously, thinking he was joking. He looked dead on in my mother's eyes and said, "I'm serious. I swore to protect, not compromise, U.S. security." My mom just said, "Okay," in reply. Now, I was an autistic child. I understood that something was weird there. I was like 10 or so when this happened, so I had TV by now, and sightings as well as unsolved mysteries were shows I had on our TV constantly. I knew people brought up Area 51, aliens, and UFOs constantly on those shows, so while curious, I didn't care a whole lot. Now, to set the stage, I have had so many things happen in my life. I am a former Roma, but I no longer live in a Roma community. I've adopted American ways, and I'm okay with that. However, it's made for a cursed life, and is the reason I can never be atheist, as I've seen way too many things which I can't explain easily. I digress. Now let's get back to my tale. I was reading many articles Mr. Hines had collected. There were a lot of stories about suburbs and towns up to 2 to 3 hours away where people were seeing what they described as bouncing orbs, and they blamed it on aliens, UFOs, and other supernatural causes. They were mostly residents speaking to the local news. All their stories were very similar, describing glowing, moving, or in some cases, bouncing orbs. We were helping Mr. Hines and his wife make food, or we were at the very least sitting nearby while Mom helped with the preparations. I finally got curious one day and asked, "What can you tell us about these orbs in the articles?" He looked serious as he relayed a fascinating tale regarding those orbs. He began, "Well, we have a lot of secret stuff there. Sometimes my friends and I would get bored and we'd have either half a day or a full day off and not much to do. On those days, sometimes during or right after our guard shifts, as we rotated, we'd gather up live wild hares and rabbits. To help planes keep visibility of the runway, we had glow-in-the-dark paint there that we'd have to reapply frequently, so we always had some of this paint. We got a brilliant idea to stave off the boredom. Carefully, we took the glow-in-the-dark paint and applied it to the varmints we caught. Mind you, it was just on the tips of their fur, basically covering the fur itself without saturating them. We weren't monsters and didn't want to injure the critters. Then we would go in groups to various nearby towns, feed the rabbits, and let them all loose just at the edge of towns or in subdivisions. Soon after, dogs started barking and cats started acting weird. People started gasping and screaming. We'd go into the town with an excuse to eat or shop just to observe the panic the residents would exhibit when confronted by mysterious glowing orbs, bouncing glowing orbs, and UFOs. People were running into the diner in a frenzy, convinced that aliens had escaped from Area 51. On the surface, it might seem kind of mean, but honestly, we let the rabbits go and no one ever got hurt. Worst thing that ever happened was a fender bender and a few panic attacks caused by the hysteria. All of this because we had nothing to do on our time off, so we gathered rabbits and painted them with glow-in-the-dark paint. So that was my landlord, neighbor, and pretty nice guy long ago, Mr. Hines. He was legit the first in real-life troll I ever met. I thought his story about the glowing rabbit orbs was hilarious. It was then suddenly all the harmless, annoying things I did to people as a child seemed normal, given a nice elderly man did similar things to mess with people in his youth. I've shared this story ever since then with UFO enthusiasts who have all these crackpot to probable theories about those orbs, and some get extremely butthurt that their wild ideas and theories have an extremely simple and sober explanation. Others nearly piss themselves laughing, mostly military and former military who know how boring it can get. They're the ones who tend to laugh the hardest and are glad to have the mystery of the glowing orb solved.